it's almost like they've been waiting for this for so long. And it hasn't been easy. I mean, this has really been a complex solution to develop, and we've been working on this for years, is giving the doctor the opportunity to say, hey, look, here is a membership program exclusive to my practice. You can come in every year. Nothing changes for me, the practice. I'm going to get paid as usual. My injectors are paid. If there's filler, I'm paid up front. You add hydrofacial, I'm paid up front. Nothing changes, but they can now offer all of this to the patient on a monthly plan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. And today is no exception. Today with us, I have Todd Watts, who's the founder and CEO of PatientFi. He's also a very dear friend of mine, full disclosure. Welcome, Todd. He came up from Newport, right?
That's exactly right.
And we're here in lovely Manhattan Beach.
On my way to the airport.
That's right.
It was just a quick stop on the way. So
thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I've been waiting for this interview. What you've been doing at PatientFi is rocking the whole industry in aesthetics, both MedSpa and surgeons and everything. So we're going to get to that later. But first, I want to get to know Todd Watts.
Jeez.
So first of all, where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Orange County. I grew up in Fullerton. So I live in Newport Beach now, but grew up in northern Orange County. And kind of have lived all over the place since then. But Orange County College, I went to USC in Los Angeles.
Wait a minute, you're getting ahead of yourself. Fullerton, what high school did you go to?
Troy High School.
Okay, I went to Catella.
Oh, there you go.
I knew there was a reason why I got along so well. That's the city
North
right
Orange County
next
boys.
to Fullerton. Interesting. Okay, so you went to Troy, then college?
USC.
Okay.
And then, shall I keep going?
Yeah, well, what'd you major in?
Business administration undergrad.
Okay, and then you went to graduate school.
I did. I made a stop working in the financial services industry. I worked for a hedge fund of funds called Wilshire Funds Management in Los Angeles. Then had a really successful stint there, just timing. I wouldn't give it credit to myself. And then went to the East Coast and went to Yale for graduate school.
So you're a Yale graduate.
That's right.
All right. Okay. And grad school, what, MBA?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Good for you. And then what was your first job after grad school?
I went into the investment banking industry right in the height of the financial crisis. I remember there was people that had internships and things, and they were pulling those away just because the whole industry was imploding. So I was just entering during that time, and I went and worked at JP Morgan doing mergers, acquisitions in the healthcare and consumer and retail industries. So I was in the middle and saw a lot, and it's no exception. It's a very different, not as much turmoil, but it felt a lot like some of the things that we have going on right now with banking and other things. And it was a fascinating time, a dynamic time. I learned a lot, and I was there for about 3.5 years.
And where were you living when you were working for them?
New York City.
Okay, so you're right in the thick of it.
Lived in Soho and took
What an experience! And you were in the healthcare portion of it.
Yeah, that's right. So one of my clients was one of our bigger clients was Weight Watchers. We did a lot of digital health, and then combine with that a lot of more consumer-facing things, retail, Ralph Lauren, and we were doing things like M&As, IPOs. It was fascinating.
I bet. Wow. Now I understand a lot more about what you're doing now. We'll get to that. Okay, so there you're on the East Coast. You're in New York. Were you married at that point?
No, met my wife, who is from Orange, so you'd probably like her too. So you got Orange,
I used to date a gal
Orange, Anaheim, and Fullerton.
Orange. Yeah. Now we have to just throw in Tustin, and we got the whole thing licked.
So I met her in New York City, and she and we're talking, and independent of knowing where she's from, and we find out that we grew up 15 minutes apart from each other, and our parents lived in Orange County. So at that point, it was going to be a marriage of convenience.
A match made in heaven. Are you kidding? Or in Orange County?
That's right. So we lived there together in New York City.
Okay.
And then eventually, I ended up leaving New York and came back to Orange County, and we kind of started a life together from there.
What was your first job when you left as an investment banker and you came to Orange County.
Yeah, so I went over. So I worked for a company called Alpheon.
Yeah, I was wondering, is that when you went to Alpheon?
Yeah, so we worked at Alpheon Credit. We're a big part of effortless, and that was a dynamic experience for me. Outstanding people, executives. I got to meet all kinds of different people of the industry, because for me, and that's now what, 2012, 2013 when I made that move, and that was really my first where I jumped kind of head first into the aesthetic industry.
Right. So you went from finance to
went
aesthetics,
from finance,
but still
being able to see all of like financial services, but being able to have a purview into the healthcare world and med device and how things work. But aesthetics is its own animal, and that's been the interesting part is through this kind of journey since then. I've been able to combine a lot of the other, I would say, financial services and acumen that I've developed before then, but combining that with the very unique dynamics of the aesthetic industry that takes a while to learn and understand what really moves the industry and the things that are missing and the things that make it different from others. So that was my time there. I would say was my like drinking from a fire hose to understand the aesthetic consumer, the aesthetic provider. And what ultimately became more of what is a cash pay doctor, what makes them tick outside of insurance. Not your person you go and you see when you have a disease or you're not feeling well. That's cash pay, meaning it's aesthetics, ophthalmology, fertility, all these different specialties that have so much in common. And starting to look at it like, how can we create business models and things to serve all of them?
Before we go into that, did you work with David Motizetti?
Yes, I did. I didn't overlap directly with him, but he's been a huge, and he's a good friend, and he's been a huge asset to, my gosh, for effortless has been outstanding.
Absolutely. He's done a great job. He's been on the show. He's a dear friend of ours also.
Right.
And I figured you must have crossed paths with David.
Just missed.
Okay. So how long were you with Alpheon and Alpheon Credit?
We were there I want to say about 5 years.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
So that brings us to where? 2008?
2017.
Yeah.
And I, at that point, kind of was thinking about what I wanted to do next. And I had, through my experience with Alpheon Credit, it was just clear to me that, look, care credit has been around for a long time. There's not a lot of industries, and that's a big industry, patient financing, where there's been a single dominant player for that long. Anytime you look at situations where there's a monopoly, and it's pretty close to a monopoly, still is, you don't see a lot of the pace of innovation kind of lags. And I was looking at the new products coming out, clinical products, and the pace of innovation in aesthetics. The people on your show, they come in here, it's like mind-boggling, all of the new advancements. And then you look at patient financing, I'm like, this is really the same product as it was 10 years ago. And it's so critical as the engine to make a lot of these med device products be able to commercially excel and be able to have adoption in the marketplace by making things more affordable. How have we not had a solution that's keeping pace with that level of innovation? And so I started PatientFi with co-founders, with my co-founder Scott Jorgensen, and we created a solution that we thought would be tailor-made, utilizing the latest technology. We had amazing banking and credit union relationships to be able to take this very far away, and customizing it to the unique workflows of not just aesthetics, but also the broader cash pay medical providers and their patients.
That was my next question. You started aesthetics, but didn't you expand to other non-aesthetics?
We did.
But cash pay, elective?
That's right. So that's
such
right.
as?
So we're in a significant portion of our business. We're still, by a large majority, we're still in medical aesthetics, and that will always be the case.
Okay.
It's the most dynamic industry. It's the industry that I'm continually the most interested in. I mean, as we all know, that's why there's so much interest in aesthetics. But we're now in fertility.
Okay.
We have a very large presence in dentistry. So we do a lot of mouth restoration, large cases that can be upwards of $20,000.
That's cosmetic dentistry.
That's correct. Okay. Everything out of pocket. And we're making inroads into ophthalmology, audiology. And the beautiful part about it is once we develop call it the chassis of the business, technology as well as our banking relationships and capital partnerships, being able to move between the different segments is pretty seamless.
Okay.
It's not like I need to change a bunch of things to be able to be effective and competitive in ophthalmology. If a plastic surgeon loves the product, all I really need to do is now change some of the marketing materials to be able to enter into something like audiology. And that's a beautiful part of the business, because the cost of acquisition and acquisition strategies into new markets, it's just replicating the things we've already spent the resources on building.
So when you say audiology, do you mean hearing aids?
That's right.
So I've heard recently that hearing aids it's a big business, and there's a lot of upgrades from the basic one that maybe the government or your healthcare insurance pays, and then you can get the supercharged ones, including even ones that are implanted in our ears. I heard about.
That's exactly right, and it's the same thing. And there's a great company that's doing something similar in ophthalmology that helps with that process up, because we see the same thing with premium IOLs. And a company
that's
Engage.
Intraocular lenses. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That acronym, IOL.
Yeah,
he just whipped it right out. For those of you who do not have cataracts, go ahead.
But companies it's the same thing with that, with the audiology and that upgrade, and we do that a lot too. And that's where patient financing can be really effective. Is it's not just 100% cash pay. Things like where companies like Alcon and other manufacturers that want to push more effective devices like a premium IOL, part of that will be covered by insurance. Part of that won't be covered by insurance if you want that upgrade.
Right.
And as I mentioned, companies like Engage are doing an amazing job educating that market to be able to upsell that patient that's better for the patient anyways. And that's where we can be an effective solution as well. And the analogy is the same really between premium IOLs and audiology is, hey, you can upgrade to a much more effective product for you. The doctor is able to upsell it from a sales perspective, and you can do that on an affordable monthly payment.
Mm-hmm. And when you are financing things like this, how long are the financing packages in general? I'm sure there are different ones.
Yeah, sure.
What's the shortest and longest?
Yeah, so we have the widest range of financing products available in the market.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that has the different options available to them as we do. So we go as short as 3 months. And we'll go all as far as term length, and we'll go all the way up to 72 months. We have cases where we'll even go to 84. The interest rates go as low as 6.99. So if there's a patient with amazing credit, they'll pay 6.99, and we even have 0% products. And actually, the majority of our business is where the patient isn't paying interest. The doctor pays a little higher processing fee to offset that, but it's a great tool and a conversion tool for the doctor's staff to say, look, you can pay for this over time. There's no interest. And it gives you an affordable way to increase your conversion at the practice.
Well, right now doctors pay credit card processing fees.
That's right.
Does it relate to that?
Same exact thing. And on average, some of our fees go as low as 1.9.
So that's below a credit card fee.
Yeah. Some of our fees will be above a processing fee. If that's some of our practices are really some of the biggest med spas in the country do extraordinarily well. They pay a higher fee, but they're willing to do so by offering a 0% 24-month interest option. They'll pay for that, but these are sophisticated, many times private equity owned, and they're looking at the margin saying, hey, look, we might be willing to pay a multiple of that fee. Mm-hmm. But the closure and the sales in the margins, it makes it all worth it.
That compensates.
That's exactly right.
Because they push out more product.
0% over a long-term length. The monthly payment goes down and you're still not paying interest. So it's a very compelling way for physicians to close. And now you're able to offer products that what sounds more affordable to you: $3,000, $7,000, or $99 a month. And that's where I think we've gotten all of our traction, is not just going to the doctor's practice saying, hey, use our financing. It's easier, it's better, it's more friendly for your patient. Your staff's going to be able to be more effective. Where we've really been a big partner for the practices is changing how they quote their procedures.
Right. Okay.
Changing how they quote, hey, upgrade to a premium IOL for as low as $99 a month. Botox for $99 a month. Breast augmentation for $199 a month, and really working with the coordinator to change how that is being marketed to patients, and the results are dramatic. And we have all of the data to show. In 2021, we did a comprehensive national campaign with Allergan, and the practices that used PatientFi, and the rest of the practices had Care Credit. So it's using our differentiated financing solution. Those practices grew for the product that was being sold in 2 times faster than the rest of the customers in the industry. So
restate that.
So the customers, the practices in the United States that were using PatientFi to market breast augmentation, they sold 2 times more products. So they were growing 2 times faster than the rest of the country was growing that year with their breast augmentation sales.
Even if the others had Care Credit.
Correct.
Because that leads me to my next question. You've sort of started the answer, and that is, how do you differentiate yourself from Care Credit or the other credit companies? And that was one right there.
Sure.
You said, if I got this right, the people that use PatientFi, the doctors that did, sold twice as many breast augmentation surgeries as the doctors who did not.
Grew twice as fast.
Grew.
Yes.
Okay.
Their growth over the prior year, yes.
Okay, so
still hugely compelling.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Double your growth just by changing the way you finance.
Changing the way you finance and changing the way you price, changing the way you quote.
Right.
Financing is the tool, is the engine. It's the big differentiator is not just us training the staff. The staff, all they do is just go, hey, I work with Dr. Joe, and the breast augmentation is $7,000. It'll output a custom ad with PatientFi that says customized to his price, $199 a month or $170, whatever it is. We make it all consumer compliant. So this is not something that a doctor should or could ever do on their own.
Right.
It's all consumer compliant. And then they can now push out through email, digital boards, through interesting companies like Friend Media, right on there in the waiting room to change how patients are seeing a different way to pay for a procedure.
And that's how we do pay for so many of our services.
Everywhere,
which we're going to get to in a moment.
Yeah.
It takes a certain amount of front office and mid office education, though, to change this approach.
Yes.
Do you also provide that education?
We do.
Okay.
And I would say my experience and through it's never PatientFi has grown a lot and it's I wouldn't have thought we would be as far along as we are, but it is not without a lot of pain. And one of the big learning lessons for me personally is, you think you come in with a better solution and the staff's gonna go, oh wow, this is more, it's cheaper for my doctor, they're gonna make more money, and things set in where you have to remember you're one of 30 vendors.
Right.
And to think that that they're thinking about patient financing every day, they're not. The staff has got a million things to do, and then especially after 5 o'clock when they're gonna check out and go home for the day. At the end of the day, where we focused on and had so many revisions of the product was, how do we make this as simple as possible for the staff?
Right.
At the end of the day, if it's cheaper, the office admin might care, but the coordinator might not care as much, right? The front office person might not care about as much if it's going to make the physician more money. Where they're going to care is 2 things. It has to be way easier than the alternative products. And then maybe not as much the front office, but the coordinator, it has to help her close more business. And if you can do those 2 things, that's where you'll start to just get buy-in from the staff automatically. And so that's where we really focused, is trying to force things. We just said, let's let the product do what it does, get them to start using it. And normally when we see a practice start to use PatientFi, even if they were the best Care Credit customer or whoever, it sticks, and we start to see it. And then once that sets in, that can be a customer for life. That's right.
This kind of reminds me of what I was hearing from the people at Apex in terms of teaching the front office and looking at their profit margins and what procedures bring in the best, and also how to get the front office to change their mindset. Do you ever work with Terry or Isaac at Apex?
We are working on working with them.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah, because changing behavior on the part of the staff, as you mentioned, has always been one of the biggest challenges we've had.
Yeah.
And that is a change in the paradigm, to approach a procedure and have a monthly charge, which brings me to subscription. So you've started a subscription program.
Yep.
PRIVI. And you've been doing it for a while now. How is it going?
No, it's been so just about kind of why we did this.
Okay.
Because look, we've been doing I think we've proved in a meaningful way that surgery, now let's just stay in aesthetics, surgery can be sold much more effectively, and you can change the growth paradigm of your practice by marketing one-time procedures on a monthly payment. I think that's been established in a meaningful way nationally. Where we started to get much more interested was, okay, that's great, but what about the fastest growing part of the segment, which is the non-invasive segment?
Right.
Smaller tickets. So maybe not as, it's not $7,000, like, how do I pay for this? But there's a lot of friction, and this is my opinion, still in the process. And let me kind of walk you through our thought process of it. Is paying 2 times per year is the national average for something like neurotoxin, just less than 2 times per year. Coming in and spending $500. Even I see it with my own around the women I know in our community. It's a clunky process, meaning like, you're late, you didn't know that you started getting wrinkles, and then by that time it's too late. Now you call your local physician in Newport Beach, they're booked 3 months out, and then you come in and then it's this big payment of $500, $600. If they're getting a filler, it could be upwards of $2,000. Now the husband, or if it's her, that's a pretty big financial expense. So we started thinking of this concept of like, wow, there should be like what, and it's frictionless beauty, right? It's being able for people to pay like they pay for the rest of their lives on a monthly plan,
right? To
pay for some of these quite expensive annual treatments that come 2 or 3, and sometimes more often times per year. And we did some proprietary studies that we sent out into the market to really see, okay, it logically makes sense that patients would want to pay for their non-invasive toxins and injectables on a monthly payment. And we surveyed a bunch of our existing consumers that are, because we have we're already in thousands of practice. We have 50,000 plus patients just from last year. 74% of them said they would be interested in paying for their non-invasive treatments on a monthly subscription.
I'm not surprised.
Blew our mind just as we first started stepping our toe into it. So we looked out into what's available out in the market, and when we went into someone, just personally, I went into a doctor's office and they offered me a membership program, and that membership program was I had to pay for my treatment that day, and I had to pay monthly, like a savings account, every month, and it was like a layaway plan for waiting for my next treatment. And immediately in my mind, interest rates are at an all-time high. In my mind, I'm thinking, what interest rate are you gonna give me for using you as a savings account? And so there's this that's not a great conversion rate for the patient. And then on the other side of it, you have a different model that the patient can pay monthly. That's what you need. The patient has to pay monthly. And what I mean by that is that first treatment has to be a monthly payment.
Right.
Problem is though, is that if they're just paying monthly and the doctor's not getting paid up front, now you have a conversion problem for the practice. And what I mean by that is the practice, if he's going to get $1,000 today versus a monthly payment to from the patient that day, that first treatment, you're going to have a hard time getting buy-in from the practices. So there's this pent-up demand, the patient saying, I want a monthly membership for non-invasive treatments, but there's the two kind of ways that people have tried to solve this issue, and practices have been doing this for a long time.
Sure.
They're their own kind of things. There's not buy-in. So that's where, and I'll stop now, but that's where we, using everything we had built with patient, because look, we're the chassis of our business is a payments company.
Right. We
collect monthly payments. We service the paper for our loans. This is what we do. So what we decided was, wow, we are built to solve this problem. And everything, kind of the tip of the spear for us within aesthetics has been to solve this problem where we can use our underlying bedrock of financing to give the doctor what they want, which is they want to be paid up front.
Well, that's key. The doctors are paid at the day of service, correct?
Every time. Nothing changes in the accounting. Nothing changes in the way that they render services. If there's a commission that needs to be paid for the injector, the cash is within 24 hours, the payments are being sent in full for that procedure within 24 hours.
And do you, as PRIVI, as PatientFi, PRIVI's the subscription, do you then collect the money from the patient?
That's exactly right. And
so now the doctor doesn't have to chase the patient.
So the doctor now, you have buy-in from the physician, and we've seen this where it's almost like they've been waiting for this for so long, and it hasn't been easy. I mean, this has really been a complex solution to develop, and we've been working on this for years. Is giving the doctor the opportunity to say, "Hey, look, here is a membership program exclusive to my practice. You can come in every year. We can talk about the things that it has done, and we've seen it do for the practices that are compelling, but nothing changes for me, the practice. I'm going to get paid as usual. My injectors are paid. If there's filler, I'm paid up front. You add hydrofacial, I'm paid up front. Nothing changes, but they can now offer all of this to the patient on a monthly plan."
So we've been saying doctor a lot. What about the non-physician med spas that have various other providers, injectors and so forth, who are very competent, and they're running their own med spa all over the country? Will you provide this PRIVI, or are you providing it to them?
Absolutely. It actually, where this works in the plastic, because we've been very penetrated commercially into plastic surgery in the past with PatientFi. This is not for the surgical part of the.
No.
This is for the med spas of the plastic surgeon's practice.
Exactly.
It is a med spa non-invasive product, right? So it is right down the middle of the fairway, so to speak, to be able to help with med spas, cosmetic dermatology, just as much as it is for the non-invasive side of the plastic surgeon's practice.
Well, we certainly live in a subscription world.
That's right.
From our health clubs, to our car payments, if you will. Look what happened in BMW, Mercedes. You can't even buy it anymore.
That's right.
You have to pay a month. I mean,
you don't know how much it was. All you know is a monthly payment.
That's right. And how about your iPhone? You pay a monthly payment. There's just so many examples that we all do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in our society. So why not pay for your aesthetic services, your injectables, your fillers, your hydrofacials, and so forth on a monthly budget? Now, what if the person changes their mind and or the doctor or provider says, I need to give you more of this or less of it?
Sure.
Does the monthly payment change with time?
Yeah, I can tell.
Can it be changed as you go? Is it dynamic?
Yeah, so it's completely dynamic. Where this is really neat when you combine the financing with the subscription kind of economy is if I'm midway through, let's just say it as an example, and I'm 6 months in, okay. I'm paying monthly as a patient, and I previously was doing, let's just say 2 Botox treatments for, I'm just going to make these numbers up, for $500 a visit. And let's say I sign you up for a subscription plan, and now you're coming in 3 times for $500 a visit. Mm-hmm. And now I'm paying, just make these numbers easy, let's say $79 a month. Okay. And I come in halfway through, and on that second visit, and now I'm in the exclusive membership of Dr. Grant Stevens, and the nurse injector says, you know what, you're a great candidate for filler. Have you thought about doing something like that? And they go, well, geez, how much does that cost, right? In the old system, that can be a pricey price tag. That could be $1,500. It's a huge barrier. Right. It's so efficacious for so many patients, and yet there's a big cost barrier. Now with PRIVI, halfway through, the nurse injector goes, we should add this to your subscription platform. It's just going to be $70 a month extra. What do you think about doing that?
Who calculates that?
PRIVI does everything.
So the injector suggests the service, and the patient says, how much will it cost? How does that injector know?
All they do, and this is where the power of everything PatientFi has built to date and now launching PRIVI is, all they're putting in is she goes in, or he goes in as the injector, puts in how much it is that they normally charge, business as usual for a filler. They can calculate exactly if they're, what are the amount being put in, whether it's toxin, filler, or anything. It'll calculate the payment, the monthly payment spit out.
Excellent. Now, is there any limitation? For instance, we've talked about filler and neuromodulators. Hydrofacial, lasers, it can cover all those things?
It can cover all of that. And that's the big differentiator of PRIVI, is when they come back in for that next visit, if they're doing, let's just say, a savings plan or what or a layaway plan, and you want to add filler, and that second treatment you decide to do that, well, you're going to have to pay for that in full. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to say, hey, I'll do it on the next one, and I'm going to have to save up by paying your practice.
Well, that's in the other model.
With us, in the other model with PRIVI, there's an established line of credit that they can pull on all the time, and it's changing their monthly payment, and they can walk out. Just imagine as a provider, and that second visit to upsell the patient, that they can walk out of there with a filler, and all they're going to pay that day is another $70. It's so sticky.
The practice gets the money that day.
Correct. Within 24 hours.
Right. However, the patient, then it's put into their monthly fee. And
it's a dynamic subscription utilizing financing and our credit union and bank partners, combined with exactly, and it's calculated based on how long that treatment's going to be until they get their next one.
Right.
So it's totally dynamic. And just like PatientFi, and I think this is the critical point, we have revised this so many times, getting it to where this can be done so simply by the staff, because we knew we wouldn't have buy-in. And that's what I would encourage providers to have their staff look at this, so it's an easy way for them to maintain their memberships. Something that we talked about this in the past is, and the scheduling and reminders is a big part of the system. I always blows my mind when I talk to providers and when their patients walk out of let's say they just got filler and a toxin. Some are better at it, but why don't they schedule their next appointment?
Right.
Blows my mind. You go to a dentist, you will not get out of that office after you have your cleaning, and they'll say, let's get your next appointment on the calendar. Same thing with a haircut. Mm-hmm. Our thesis is, it's really hard to ask somebody, when is your next appointment, when I just wrote a check or paid $2,000 for a treatment. PRIVI, that totally changes it.
Right.
I'm just coming in and I just paid $99. Of course, and now the system does all this. Of course, you're going to schedule that next treatment. It's not like this big sale, and you can feel the friction of that. If someone had just paid with a credit card $2,000 to say, "Hey, when are you coming back?" Right. This is just, it all lays it out.
So it's cheaper on a monthly basis, and patients remain therapeutic the whole time. In other words, they don't go wrinkle, non-wrinkle, wrinkle, non-wrinkle.
That's exactly right.
Across the whole year, if you will, 12 months. They remain therapeutic.
Yeah, and as you know, right, the majority of patients, particularly for injectables, aren't, they're not as compliant as we want them to be.
That's right.
And so if you have a situation where the doctor, the three pillars of this that we've seen, and it was our value props, and it's beautiful when you see the value props really come to fruition as we've been in the market. The patient's going to spend more. They just like an iPhone. They will upgrade to a more expensive iPhone if it's going to cost them $10 more a month. Mm-hmm. Okay, they'll spend more. They're going to come in more often. They're going to come in more often because you're setting a treatment regime at the outset of, hey, you're going to come 3 times per year. You're going to do a filler on this day. You're going to do hydrofacial here, and you want to do some body contouring. Let's add that as well. So they're going to come more often. They're going to spend more, and they're not just going to spend more because of the monthly payment of that treatment. You're going to upsell them fillers and all these other procedures that otherwise they wouldn't potentially consider. 2, we call it converting one-time transactions into recurring revenue. Uh-huh. And that is as you start to get these patients coming back, it's not just, and it's exclusive to the practice, it's not just that year. Every year they come back. So if you're a doctor in Dallas and you have competition down the street, I would encourage you, if you're not going to use ours, build your own membership plan, because once they're in your membership plan, it is sticky. Mm-hmm. And members are proven, and this isn't our data, it's payments data, if you're a member, they'll spend on average 72% more if you're on a membership than if you're just a one-time customer. So there's that loyalty component of the recurring revenue. And one things that I have without naming names, I have a plastic surgeon customer that was going to sell his practice, and they've enrolled a lot of PRIVI customers. And this applies as well to MedSpas, is the valuation. And one thing that providers will know this, listening to this, is they get to the end of their careers and they built up this huge business that's thriving, and then it's like, what do I do with? And especially on the non-invasive side, you get, and everyone should know this, get all of your patients on memberships. The valuation of your practice when you go to sell it one day to private equity or what it is will be 2 times more attractive, and the value will be 2 times more because you have a recurring membership base coming into your practice that's no longer dependent on you, or candidly less dependent even on the injector.
Yes.
So that's the recurring piece of this that's so critical. And then I'm kind of coming full circle to what you said around happy patients, is the patients, you're giving them the way to pay. Everybody pays for luxury items on a monthly payment now. They use Affirm, all these other new entrants to the market. They want to pay for these items on it. So they're going to be happier. And then most importantly is their results will be better. And that was what we launched with, those 3 tenets. And it's just been so nice to see, because this has been a lot of work to see them kind of come back and hear feedback that the value is being realized by the providers and their patients.
That's fantastic, and I can't understand why anyone wouldn't do this. I mean, from a med spa owner to a provider, an injector, the physician, the surgeon, it just seems like it's such a great deal for the patient and the practice. I just can't imagine why someone would not enroll in something like this. I don't see the downside.
And what I love about it is we're coming into this. I think this benefits everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
And it benefits the patients, the practice, industry. The industry will sell more neuroinjectables because of this. Look, 1 in 3. Everyone comes on the show knows these statistics, but 1 in 3 U.S. adults are considerers of a non-invasive cosmetic procedure. It's growing so fast, and yet it's so, as far as the actual commercial revenue coming through the U.S. we're just scratching the surface.
Yes, we are.
Right? For first-time considerers, for the patients that are 35 to 44, we've done a lot of studies on this, that 69% of them will spend way more if they're presented a monthly payment plan. 40% of non-patients would actually have converted to a procedure if they had been presented a monthly payment plan. One of the big issues is it's not just affordability, it's we need to give our aesthetic patients to bring in those first-time considerers in the younger generations a way to pay they're used to paying. This is a luxury item, it's expensive. And I think that we haven't cracked the code, but I think that what we're doing is going to be transformative as far as helping the industry move further along.
Well, I want to congratulate you. I think you have cracked the code. I think you're being too humble. What you've done with PRIVI is absolutely amazing to me. So, listen, we could talk forever. I know that, but I'm
going to the airport.
I know you are. I've got to get you to LAX. I want to thank you for coming up here and sharing with us all your experiences, teaching us about patient financing and about this wonderful new subscription program that you have.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And this is always fun to be here, and I love what you're doing on the technology of beauty.
Well, it's great to have you here. Well, everybody, I'm sure you learned a lot. I know I did, about not just financing, but more importantly, the beauty of subscription aesthetic services. And I want to thank Todd and all the people at PatientFi.
Thanks for hosting.
And we'll see you next week on the technology of beauty. Take care.